My name is Alexander Thorne, and I'm a real estate attorney with 15 years of experience dismantling overreaching bureaucrats who think rules are suggestions for everyone else. I've handled everything from multimillion-dollar disputes to petty zoning fights, but nothing prepared me for the day a bunch of rent-a-cops in a gated community decided to play God with my family's legacy. It started with a phone call that shattered my world. My father, Robert Thorne, the man who'd raised me single-handedly after Mom passed, was in the hospital, stage for cancer. The doctors gave him days, maybe a week. He'd spent his life on our family ranch, a sprawling 200-acre property on the outskirts of a posh suburb that had crept closer over the decades. Dad refused to sell, holding onto the land his grandfather homesteaded. But 20 years ago, developers built an exclusive gated community called Oakridge Estates right up to our border. They even convinced Dad to sell a thin strip along the edge for their access road, with an easement allowing us perpetual use of their gate for emergencies. That easement was ironclad. I'd reviewed it myself when Dad first mentioned it. But Oakridge had a new HOA board, power-hungry retirees, and a president named Harold Jenkins, a former middle manager who treated the neighborhood like his personal fiefdom. They'd hired security guards, overweight guys in ill-fitting uniforms, to man the gate 24/7, complete with boom barrier and cameras. I dropped everything in the city, threw a suitcase in my BMW, and raced to the hospital. Dad was fading fast, hooked to machines, but lucid enough to grip my hand. "Go to the ranch, son," he whispered. "Scatter my ashes there when it's time. It's yours now." The will was clear. The land passed to me outright. I promised him I'd be back soon. But first, I needed to check the property. The old farmhouse held memories, photos, heirlooms, Dad's tools. And honestly, I needed air that didn't smell like antiseptic. I arrived at the Oakridge gate around dusk. The guard shack was lit up like a prison tower. A burly guy in a polo shirt emblazoned with Oakridge Security stepped out, hand on his radio like he was Secret Service. "Name and address," he barked. "Alexander Thorne. I'm accessing the Thorne Ranch via the easement." He squinted at his clipboard. "Thorne? That old farm? You're not on the resident list. No access without HOA approval." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. "Check your records. There's a recorded easement from 2005. My family owns the land beyond your development." He radioed someone, then shook his head. "President Jenkins says no outsiders after hours, especially not to that eyesore property. Turn around." Rage bubbled up, but Dad was dying. I didn't have time for this. "This is private property access. You're blocking me illegally." "HOA rules supersede," he smirked. "Call the president tomorrow." I drove away fuming, parked on the shoulder, and called Jenkins. Voicemail. Then the HOA management company. Closed. By the time I got back to the hospital, Dad had slipped into a coma. He passed that night, alone except for nurses. I wasn't there because some wannabe cop enforced a non-existent rule. The funeral was small. I scattered his ashes on the ranch the back way, trespassing through a neighbor's field on foot, hauling supplies like a criminal on my own land. That's when revenge ignited. As a lawyer, I know property law inside out. First, I pulled the title records. The easement was perpetual, irrevocable, for ingress and egress to the Thorne property. No HOA could restrict it without court approval, and even then unlikely. But Oakridge's guards had blocked me during an emergency. False imprisonment, trespass to chattels, intentional infliction of emotional distress preventing me from seeing my dying father. Oh, and the big one, the land itself. Digging deeper, I discovered gold. The community's main road, the one their gate protected, crossed the corner of our original property. Dad had granted a license back in the day, revocable at will. It wasn't an easement. It was permission, and buried in the fine print. Revocable if abused. They'd abuse it by blocking me. I sent a certified letter to Jenkins and the HOA board. Demand for unrestricted access via easement. Failure to comply within 10 days will result in revocation of license for your community road. Panic ensued. Jenkins called, blustering. "You can't do that. We'd be landlocked." "Exactly," I said calmly. Your developer screwed up relying on a revocable license. Sue me if you want, but meanwhile, my access is guaranteed. They lawyered up fast. A firm specializing in HOA defense. Arrogant letters flew. Threats of fines, claims the easement was void because the ranch wasn't maintained to community standards. I countersued, not just for access, for damages. Emotional distress for missing my father's final hours. Punitive for willful interference. And I demanded the HOA dissolve or reform, citing years of overreach complaints I gathered from disgruntled residents. Anonymous tips poured in after news spread. Court was beautiful. Their lawyer argued the guards were protecting property values. I presented Dad's death certificate, hospital records, the gate logs showing my denied entry. The judge's face darkened, then the revocation. Since they wouldn't guarantee access, I posted no trespassing signs and hired my own crew to block the community road's encroachment, legally with barriers on my land. Chaos. Residents couldn't leave. Emergency services delayed. Jenkins screamed on local news about the crazy farmer son. The HOA folded, settled for $250,000 in damages, paid from assessments. Residents hated Jenkins more. Permanent unrestricted access for me and heirs, and Jenkins' resignation. The guards were fired. The gate now opens automatically for my vehicle's license plate. I sold most of the ranch to a conservation trust, ensuring no development forever. The remainder? My retreat. Every time I drive through that gate unhindered, I toast Dad's ashes. Moral: never block a lawyer from his dying father's land. It's a big mistake.